everyone. Earlier this year, I was invited to speak on an online webinar, which was really cool because I hadn't done one of those before. And this was for the Minerals Council of Australia, and it was part of their Industry of Choice series, working on different ways to get more people interested in working in the mining industry, because we're not super exciting and we lose out to like Google or video game companies, because video games, understandable. And what was my one called again? And the webinar panel that I was in was called How to Build Inclusive Workplaces and Overcome Barriers for People with Disability to Work in Mining. And I feel weird talking about it because I was in it, but I think it turned out really good. It was a really good panel, very educational. So if you're interested in that, and it wasn't really that mining specific. Even if you don't work in mining, I think you'd get a lot out of it. So I would recommend you go watch that if you've got the time. I'll post the link in the description or the comments or something. I'll figure it out. But what I wanted to talk about right now is one of the concepts that I discussed in that webinar that seemed to really surprise a lot of people because they hadn't thought of it that way before. And I'm going to pull that out and expand upon my point a little bit. And that is, disabled employees aren't less safe, they're actually more safe than their able-bodied coworkers. And safety is something we talk about a lot in the mining industry, a lot. Just about every important meeting that I've ever been to at BHP starts with what we call safety share. Now, sometimes that's something like, hey, just so everyone knows, we almost had an incident at one of our mine sites. Thankfully, nothing bad happened and everyone's fine, because at the last minute someone noticed that that was not cool, and they went through the checklist and it turns out, nope, there was something bad going on, and they fixed it and everyone's fine. But friendly reminder, everyone, always follow the checklists. They're not just there to waste your time, they're there to save your life. Or sometimes the safety share is a little more lighthearted. Your coworker, Gregory, will say, yeah, my safety share is, yesterday, I was walking into work and I had a bunch of stuff to bring in with me, and the ground was wet and I had my hands full because I only wanted to do one trip, and I only did one trip. I fell on my butt. So please, if the ground is wet, make sure that your hands aren't full so that you can grab something. And if you're walking on stairs, always have one hand on the handrail. Something we do all the dang time. I don't know how it is for the other companies. I assume they do it too. Because that isn't just to bore people to death. It's actually shown that constantly talking about safety, constantly making people think about how they can be more safe, leads to safer workplaces. There's studies at the wazoo. I think they call it a culture of not having a culture of risk tolerance and having a culture of unease, chronic unease. I'm not super up on the health and safety terminology. It's not really my area. Half of this is coming secondhand from what I've learned working at BHP, and the other half is coming secondhand from what I've learned from my mom, because she used to work for, she volunteered for the St. John Ambos down here and also for Red Cross up there. So forgive me if I'm getting the words wrong. But yeah, they do talk about that a lot, making sure that people get in the habit of being suspicious and checking themselves before they wreck themselves, as it were. If you want a group of people who are already experts in that, hire some disabled people. I'll give you an example. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. That means if I get injured, usually it's pretty bad. It's not just, oops, oh well, dust myself off and get back to work. It usually means a trip to the emergency department, ER for all you Yanks. And one of the things in particular that can really be a day ender for me is slipping over on sidewalks on the rain. I am pretty good about not slipping over these days. I've learned over the years how to recover really well from almost falling over. But I used to fall over quite a lot and slip and fall. And, between the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome making me clumsy and the autism making me clumsy, and now my leg braces that I wear, which lock down my ankle movement so I can't move as agilely, pretty clumsy. Very easy for me to slip over. And if I slip over, yeah, not good. Even if I don't go to the ER, I'm going to be sore for the next several days. Like, really lay up in bed sore. So what that means is I live in the Perth CBD. I know exactly which sidewalks to not walk on when it's been raining, because I don't know what they make them out of, but some of the sidewalks in Perth just like don't absorb water or something. It just sits on top when it's been raining. So when I go to walk on them, I walk straight into, what might as well be greased glass and slip and fall right on my butt. And when I used to work in the office, if it had been raining, I would take like a completely different route to come to work, and it would add on a good like 5 to 7 minutes of walking, which was super annoying, but it was worth it to not fall on my butt, have to call in sick, and then be out for the next 3 days. So you want to talk about a culture of unease, try that on for size. And, whether it's sidewalks or whether it's knowing which buildings have the good wheelchair ramps and which ones have the really like pokey wheelchair ramps that are technically up to code, but you have to like really squeeze, or they're super steep or something. Or you want to talk about knowing which restaurants are willing to let you point at the menu because you can't communicate verbally, or at which one the waiters will be a bit, funny about that and treat you like you're stupid. Yeah, that's the disabled community. We are already masters of the spirit of chronic unease. So for that reason, I would really recommend looking into hiring more disabled people if you work in a safety conscious industry. But also, one thing that I didn't talk about so much in that webinar is the thing about your disabled employees is they already know they're disabled. Your coworker who has an undiagnosed heart problem and is going to have a heart attack in 3 years does not yet know that he or she is disabled. Your coworker who, doesn't know that in 5 or 10 years they're going to develop a disability. They don't know, but we already know, and we are already dealing with that problem. So while you might think, and I hope to goodness none of you guys are doing this, but there are some companies out there who think, I'm not going to hire disabled people, I'm going to be a safer company, my employees will be safer, and I won't have to worry so much about sick days. No, it's not a one and done. You aren't born healthy or born disabled. You can become disabled at any time, or you might have been born disabled and you just haven't figured that one out yet. All you're really doing by excluding disabled people is you're excluding the people who already know how to deal with their problems, and specifically hiring the people who don't know how to deal with their problems yet. I don't know. Are you following me? I don't know if I'm doing a good job of explaining that one. But hey, and that's another thing I wanted to say. When I post these videos, I don't want to just post them into the ether and then have no one talk about them. What I'm trying to do most of the time is I'd like to get a conversation started with all y'all. So if you ever want to talk more about what I've been talking about in one of these videos, I would really encourage you to post below. First of all, it gets my engagement numbers up, which helps me grow my, brand. But honestly, I think we don't talk enough about a lot of this. We just accept people's word as golden, and we don't actually dig down into how we can start bringing disability acceptance and neurodiversity into our workplaces. And it's the only way we're ever going to propagate these ideas is if we interact with them, if we talk about how we can bring them to our workplace or how we can be better about supporting them, or even saying, hey, that doesn't make sense to me, or I don't agree with that. I want to hear from you if you don't agree with me, because I want to change your mind. And hey, maybe you'll even change mine.